All right. This is the 6.5 homework help. And for this lesson, we learned about finding the least common denominator. So just as a reminder, go over your flashcards. You do need to know the vocabulary like common denominator and equivalent fraction. So remember that common denominator is when you want both of your fractions to have a common multiple. And common multiples are your facts, like for example, for 2 will be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Those are multiples. So you want to have the same multiple for both fractions. So here's question number 1. On my end, you might have a different question, but I'm going to show you how to do this one so that if you're having trouble with this topic, we can review. So the question is, use the least common denominator to enter an equivalent fraction for each fraction. So they give us two fractions, 1/2 and 1/7. So we see it right here, 1/2 and 1/7. And we need to find the least common denominator of the fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and switch so that you can see my whiteboard. And I'm going to show you, wait, what was that again? It was 1/2 and 1/7. Okay, so we need to find the common denominator. Barely fit. Okay, so we are examining our denominator. Remember, the denominator is a number under and the numerator is the one on top. Okay, but we are working with the denominator. So, common denominator. Let's write our multiples for 2 and for 7. Okay, ooh, you can't see that. Okay, 2 and 7. So, let's start with 2. 2 is easy, right? Let's go multiples of 2. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, and I'm going to stop right there. Earlier today, one of my students asked, well, when do you stop? Well, you want to start just by putting as many as you can, and then once you do the second number, you want to stop where you find a common multiple, meaning where you find a multiple, in this case, a multiple of 7 that will match with a multiple of 2. So I'm going to do 7, so that we start with 7, 14. Oh, I can stop now. See? Why? Because I just realized that I have a 14 multiple 14 in my 2 and a 14 in 7. So this right here, okay, this 14 is my common denominator because both of my denominators have a 14 and I can work with that. All right, and I'm looking for an eraser. All right, so moving on. I'm going to erase my work. I'm just going to write here, my common denominator is 14. And if you see one of the questions here in Think Central is the least common denominator of the fraction is 14. And when when we say least, it refers to the smallest number that is common in 2 and 7. Okay, so I got a 14, and a lot of you got this, so that's not a problem. Where maybe you might be struggling with is finding the equivalent fraction. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now that I found my common denominator, I need to find the equivalent fraction for each of my fractions. Let's start with 1/2. I need to find an equivalent fraction. Equivalent, remember, equal sounds like equal. You're finding a fraction that is equal to 1/2. But that your denominator has that common denominator. In this case, we found that it was 14. The question is now, what is my numerator? And your numerator needs to be, this is how we're going to find it. So you think to yourself, okay, you have 2. What number do I need to multiply it by? That would give me 14. Because we need to have 14 in the denominator. since that's our common denominator. What number times 2 will give me 14? Think. Oh, I know, 7. Okay, 7. So 2 times 7 equals 14. And remember what I said, you have to be fair. If you multiply 7 to your denominator, you have to multiply 7 to your numerator. It's about being fair, right? 1 times 7 equals 7. So my equivalent fraction to 1 over 2 is 7 over 14. Now let's do our next fraction, which is 1 over 7. What is our equivalent fraction? Well, we start off with our common denominator is 14. So we're going to put 14 here. What number times 7 will give me 14? Think. Yeah, 2. 7 times 2 will give me 14. Now, again, you have to be fair. If you multiply 2 to your denominator, you have to multiply it to your numerator. So, 1 times 2 equals 2. So this is my equivalent fraction. Okay. Now, we're going to input our responses to our problem here. And we have, okay, so that's 1/2. My equivalent fraction is 7 over 14. 7. And I know some of you do it differently. I put the backslash, the one that has the question mark key. And when I do that, it converts it to the fraction. And then 14. Okay, so, and then the next one, 1/7, the equivalent fraction to 1/7 is 2 over 14. So I put the 2 backslash 14. I'm going to close this. I don't need that. Okay, so you can either, I'm going to check my answer just so you can see it. Yay, well done. I did it. Okay. If you need to look at this video again, slowly go ahead. Sometimes it takes a few times to really get it. But we are really doing the same thing again on the next problems. Finding the common denominator and then figuring out the equivalent fractions. We're doing the same thing here. It's just in the form of a word problem. And I just wanted to see how much time do I got. Okay, well, Arnold had 3 pieces of different color strings, all the same length. Arnold cut the blue string into 2 equal lengths. He cut the red string into 5 equal size lengths. So when you're thinking about that, and then it says, and the green string into 10 equal size lengths. He needs to cut the string so each color has the same number of equal size. So he needs to cut the string so each color has the same number of equal size. What is the least number of equal size lengths each color string could have? The least number of equal size lengths each color would have. So you want to look at this. Let's see. Oof. Alright. Okay, so for this problem, and sorry I had to stop it because I got a little lost in my software. But this problem, in order for you to understand how to do it, you're going to have to draw a model. And every time you have a word problem, first thing, break it apart. What is the information that is being given to you? So it says that Arnold had 3 pieces of different color string, all the same length. So I want to start by drawing string, right? The same length string. So I'm just going to draw and see. I know it's not going to be so straight. Maybe I should do it in my, well, okay. So we have one. Oh no, that's not going to work. Okay, let me do it on my board. So Arnold has 3 pieces of string. So let me do it on my whiteboard because this is not going to work out with the drawing tool. Oh, come on, let's go. If it wants to work, it doesn't want to work with me. Okay. Okay, I guess I have to do this like this. Oh wait, I have shapes here. Never mind, let's do this. Okay, so I have one here. Let me erase all that because start over. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. Why 3? Because the problem is telling me that Arnold had 3 pieces of different color string, all the same length. I should have done these different colors, but 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's 3 strings. So my first string, it says Arnold cut the blue string into 2 equal lengths. So that means that my string is cut in half, right? So I'm going to go ahead and write and divide my first string in half. Alrighty then. Now, he cut the red string into 5 equal lengths. So the red string is cut into 5. So if I want to make 5 squares, I'm going to draw 4 lines. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I know they're not even. They're supposed to, but just a quick sketch. So my red string is cut into 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal pieces. And the green string into 10 equal string pieces. So now I'm going to do my green in 10 pieces. So I'm going to draw 9 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that should give me 10 equal pieces. Now, he says he needs to cut the string so each color has the same number of equal size lengths. So here what we have parts that are these are 1/2 pieces, right? Because we cut them. Oh wait, I'm doing the line, so I can't do that. Where's my pen? Okay, so this is 1/2. Oh, okay, there you go. And this string is cut in 5. So that means that, oh my gosh, don't do that. This means that it's 1/5. And my last string is cut into 10 parts. So that means that each piece is 1/10. Okay, each piece. And the question is asking us, he needs to cut the string so each color has the same number of equal size. So we need each one of these squares to be the same size. How can we do that? Of course, you find the least common denominator, because that tells us how many pieces each one has to have equally. Okay, so we have 2, we have 5, we have 10. We need to find the common multiple of 2, 5, and 10. Now, I cannot manipulate this very easily, like on the board, but just look at those numbers. What do you think will be a common multiple? Isn't 2 times 5 the same as equal to 10? See, so I was able to do this mentally since I only have 1 minute, but you could do it if you want. If you can't figure it out, just list your multiples of 2. So you would go 2, 4, 6, 8, and then the same with 5, 10, 15, the same with 10. But in this case, if you were to do that, you will see that 10 will be the common multiple. Another way is that you can just multiply the denominator of the biggest numbers, 5 times 10, or find it for these, and you see that these two are, you can multiply 5 times 2 and that equals 10, or 2 times 5 and that equals 10. So I'm going to write 10 here, and now I just need to find the equivalent. Well, I don't need to find the equivalent fraction because the problem is only asking me to find the least number of equal sizes. So the least equal sizes would be, it would be 10.